The name of his company is Lucky Dog. He'll be the first to tell you that he really is one. You've seen his name for 3 years. This morning you'll meet him on Carolina People. Coming up next. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning with the Myrtle Beach Herald. We're focused on Carolina People and its founding. And we're visiting with the co-originator of the show, Donald Smith. Good morning, Donald, and happy Labor Day.
Happy Labor Day.
Great being with you. What about that? So many folks probably sleeping late today. There's probably no one watching.
Yeah, right. I was thinking, this whole week you're featuring past people that have been involved with Carolina People.
Yeah.
Like Hilda, she'll be on Wednesday, Lane's tomorrow.
Right.
And then we got some surprises coming up Thursday and Friday.
Oh, wow.
But, you asked me to be on Monday, and I know the reason that because everybody's sleeping late.
Everyone's sleeping late. I know. You left the house this morning. Marilyn's still sleeping. Delaney's sleeping. My gal, you're like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
There'll be
More
no
people
one
might
there.
watch me.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hopefully your mom will tune in.
Yes, always.
Which is great. And of course, you've been with us twice now. It's fascinating. You were with us at with Mama Lucia,
right?
There at Villa Romana, Italian restaurant, the Italian restaurant of the year. And then you were with us another time, and I can't. That was here in the studio.
It was here in the studio.
Focused on the elections, or the were the results out yet?
Yes, it was right after the last election cycle.
I was trying to find those notes early this morning to go back and review to see if there were any hot button questions at that time. I couldn't find them. I couldn't remember.
No hot button. We just won every one.
That's right. You had 5 or 6 candidates.
We actually had 6 candidates. One went unopposed, the Sheriff Philip Thompson.
Right, he was with us last week, yeah.
Yes, he's a client of mine, and we represented him. Luckily, we didn't have any opposition in the primary or the general election.
Wow.
Then we had 5 other elections.
That was Melanie Huggins,
Clerk of Court,
Bob Grabowski,
Horry County Council,
Nelson Hardwick,
House of Representatives.
You had the 2 other folks, Roddy Dickinson, of course,
Horry
the
County Treasurer, and Gene Timms, Conway City Council.
That is fantastic. Golly, Donald, what's that like 6 for 6?
Well, it was nerve-wracking for about 3 months out before the election, but we felt good that night.
Yeah.
It was a good feeling.
You were such a great storyteller. It's fascinating at the Roddy Dickinson swearing in as you're talking to the crowd and trying to calm everyone down and trying to calm Roddy down probably,
right.
Who was possibly a little nervous that night. It's so fascinating to see you in front of a crowd, as well as recently at the Sheriff's Gala, highlighting that Sheriff's tournament just a couple weeks ago over at Wild Wing. And it's amazing to see you calm folks down, particularly those honorees, the folks that are being honored for whatever they've done, amazing things they've done. I think you really have that sense. It was very exciting.
Well, thank you.
Of course, even if you do that this morning, everyone's sleeping in, so it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. So we can probably just hang out. Where's the beer?
You put me at a great time slot. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I'll get a lot of exposure out of this.
Banana Jack will rib you next time. And of course, we are visiting not only with the co-originator, you and Hilda, who'll be with us on Wednesday.
Yeah, she'll be with you. I think it was Hilda's initial idea, and I think she had, from what I can remember,
right.
she had talked to you for a long time about doing something.
Oh yeah.
And then I think you and I talked a little bit, and then you mentioned about Hilda, and I said, well, let's just sit down and talk. And do you remember where that was at?
Over at the Trestle.
Yeah, the little restaurant right beside my office.
Right next to Lucky Dog.
I'll never forget it. You made a commitment and to do the program, but at that time you were not planning on being the host.
That's right.
You were leaving that up to me to choose someone.
Absolutely.
And then I came up and said, I think you need to do it. And which right away you said no, and Hilda, said no. I think.
Had you and Hilda talked ahead of time?
No, I promise you.
Right.
No.
Huh.
No. That was. She felt the same thing, and I think that, and I'll tell the people at home really what happened, why I felt like you need to be the host is because you have a genuine quality, and actors get paid a lot of money. Tom Cruise gets paid a lot of money to make people believe he's a certain character in a certain movie. The average person is not like that. There's certain things that, whether it's a movie or television, that you can't hide. Sincerity you cannot hide unless you're a great actor like that. And you're sincere. You're sincere of what you wanted this program to do. And I knew that if you would ever take that step, that you'd be okay. And I think you've, over the last 3 years, I think you've settled in very well. I think you feel comfortable. I know the guests do. I mean, I've had numerous guests tell me how comfortable you made them and how well a great an interview you were.
That's great. You know, it's amazing. Hearing those words, normally I would poo-poo that probably like I did at the Trestle.
Right.
Just poo-pooing the idea of hosting it. Normally I would poo-poo that as well, but the show has, I think much of that is related to the folks that you've hired to help do the show in the past. You know, whether it was Lane Harris, who'll be with us tomorrow, the former director.
And if it's okay, we'll talk a little bit about Lane. I think Lane, and one of the reasons why I wanted Lane involved at the show at the very beginning is because, as you've seen, we've had a couple of directors after Lane left, and I don't think that at the beginning of the show, their personalities would have benefited you. Lane has especially when he's directing a program. You know, he does on-air talent.
Right.
So I knew he was familiar with on what someone feels like in front of the camera.
Right.
And then also he takes kind of a forceful role. You know, like, you know, we need to do this. This is what we need to do. And at that early stage, I think that's probably what you needed. And I think you and him, first of all, I think you bonded professionally, and then you bonded personally because it was a good match.
Absolutely. You know, Lane was amazing those early years, the first 2 years, and not to take anything away from the director after Lane, but being there, knowing that I'd be calling and almost calling every morning, having his mobile phone right next to the bed, whether he's watching it or not, he was quickly up, turning on the TV if he wasn't up watching it.
And there's been some issues over the year. I mean, things, you know. I mean, it's the nature of the business.
Right.
But, you know, a lot of people, without knowing it, you know, probably didn't pick up on it. You knew about it, and the type of person you are, the perfectionist you are, you wanted everything right. And Lane, that same way also.
Right.
And I knew he would fit in well.
He did. I know there were a couple times where he could hear me almost crying on the phone because I remember we had a guest, the woman who was chair of the board of the McLeod Medical Center, the McLeod Foundation. This woman, I can't remember Beverly, so I can't remember her name, but of course, and she had her family, it was around Christmas time, had a lot of folks tuning in to catch her, and it was just obliterated. We just had some terrible technical problem, and she just wouldn't return calls after that. Not to pick on her, and I mean not to pick on us. I mean we'd never get her back as a guest. When you got folks, and that's the power of television, sight, sound, motion, everything factoring in. I mean, if you screw up a something in print, you just rerun it the next week with an apology. On TV, it's difficult.
And we're looked at different. And you know how I believe in television. I think it's the most powerful media out there. I really do.
Right.
And because it does what you said. I mean, it's you hear it, see it. You can't touch it or smell it. Other than that, it has, you know, basically everything to it. So when you do mess up, people can see the thing. But most people, the average person, won't pick up. Now that lady knew, you knew, but you know, it's our goal to please you. It's our goal to please the lady, you know, because you know we usually it's been.
You usually do, yeah.
And we want them back if, you know, on certain occasions. The people that you've had, you know, some have been one-time guests, but you've had some back on different occasions.
Yeah.
So we try to make them happy. But usually when somebody comes on television, they're going to call, just like you said, you know, their mother, watch me, and their friends.
Sure.
And associates.
Absolutely.
And if it's a charity, then the word's going to pass down.
Right.
You know, and if you do mess up,
it's royal. Yeah.
And it does happen.
Of course, whether it's here, and of course you've been doing River Talk there. You came up with that idea, and then of course had some support with the folks over at Ori Telephone Cooperative.
HTC.
You've been a great supporter of yours. You were able to get Banana Jack, and I guess you had someone before Jack.
Jack's been with us 9 years. We've actually had the program on for 10 years. Jack's been there for 9. We had Steve Rayburn the very first year.
Is that right? What's Steve up to now? Is he in the area?
Real estate.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Steve Rayburn. Oh, is he down like on the southern end, like Paulie's or somewhere? I've seen a Rayburn down there. He may not be. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
The last that him and I spoke, he was with Grand Dunes.
That's fascinating. You know, it's amazing how folks, and of course, folks who really come into the business. What prompted you to found Lucky Dog Television Productions, Tom?
And I really can't. Time is prohibited. I really can't. It's a long story. I'll try. I was in the fertilizer business.
Yeah, of course. So I want to talk about you founding, and I know we've got 10 minutes or so, founding your company at age 19.
Right, and I sold that, and didn't really know what I wanted to do. And I had a friend that cousin had a product that they needed some help marketing it, some PR with it and stuff. And he knew that I was pretty good with some ideas and things. And he said, "Would you like to help with it?" And I said, "Yeah." And we were lucky. This was in '82, and got some exposure through some political friends up at the World's Fair. Sun News did a big article about it. Kathy D'Antoni was general manager of Cox Cable, the local origination part, the television part of it. Read the article and asked me did I want to be involved in dance show Studebakers. And I said I can't even spell television, and let alone be involved in it. And she said, if you can do that with that product, what I read in the Sun News, you can help. Make a long story short, I got involved. In about 3 months, they said, we want to hire you full time. I worked with them for about 6 months and said, I can be doing some of this on my own. And so started doing that. Well, in the meantime, we had a shoot at the Magic Attic. Sugar Creek was a rock and roll band. We were producing a video for them through Cox Cable. And one of the camera people got stuck in traffic and couldn't make it there. And Nat Adams said, you're going to have to run camera. I said, there's no way. And he put me up on the camera. You can't get in too much trouble. It was the wide shot. But there was a natural thing, and I think of probably the thing that I do most, that I do well in the business is probably run camera. There was a natural love for it I had, and I started to learn everything about it. Tried to take as many courses and stuff, and I did it every opportunity that I got. And which helped me later on in years as far as getting into the doors with NBC.
National gigs,
And they hired me as a camera operator. And I've worked for every network, every major cable, CNN.
FX, I remember, sure.
I was there at the launch of FX.
Is that right? What year was that, Don? 89, 91?
It was in the late 80s, yeah.
Late 80s.
No, it was early, let's
early
see, because it was after Hugo. After Hugo, I remember that. I relate things around Hugo. Yeah, and Hugo, I think, was 89.
89, that's right. That's right. It's fascinating as you think through all the steps of being in this community. Of course, I'd forgotten you were actually not born here, but your mother's.
My mother's family
from O'Ree.
My mother's family was from the Aner area, and my father's from was in Kansas, and he was in service. Met my mother down here, and then he had to. He was stationed Alaska, and my mother couldn't go, and she was pregnant with me, and she went to live with my grandparents in Salina, Kansas, and that's where I was born. We moved back here in the 70s, and I think my mother's side of the family, I think, is really where I learned the work ethic that I feel I have. I work 7 days a week, as you know. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's
you were working yesterday, and today's Labor Day, and you're working this morning. I mean, you're on here this morning. Yeah,
it's the nature.
What about
of
the day of rest, Donald?
Well, that could be a Wednesday. I mean, it all depends. It could be a Wednesday. I have I've been married almost 27 years now.
Well, that is fantastic.
And I have an 11-year-old.
Yes.
I have 11-year-old.
Is Delaney 11 now?
11 now.
Wow.
And now there's certain things that since she's come along that I take time for. As far as being a parent. But before Marilyn and I, she was a career woman. My wife was she's from Knoxville, Tennessee, graduated from UT with an interior design degree and was a designer down here for years. She had her career, I had mine. If I went where the job took me. I mean, I was on the road one time with Louisville Slugger for like 3 months. I would never do that now because of Delaney. There's certain times that that we take. You know, she shows horses, as you know. And,
Yes,
and so
and she's
Saturdays
done very
are,
well, yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she does very well.
She does. She really does well, doesn't she?
Well, she's been riding for a long time. She's been actually she was on a horse at 3.
Wow.
She was in her first competition at 4. She started showing full time at the age of 5. So
You are kidding.
so she's yeah,
She has no fear of horses, obviously. Did you see any signs of that at an early age? Is there anything for a child getting used to a horse, like
my father raised horses, and I just wanted her around that atmosphere as much as I could, because I felt like it taught me a lot. And you know, like she has a routine. You know, she goes to St. Andrew's Catholic School. We live in Conway. On Wednesdays, though, you know, she knows that she goes out and she trains on the horse.
Right.
On Fridays, she goes out, she rides a little bit, but then she has to get the horse ready for the show on, and she does that on her own. And she's been doing that since she was 5.
Wow.
She
5, Donald?
she and you know, she cleans her tack.
Sounds like a child prodigy or something. I mean, that's
it's we just started her. Her trainer. We've been with that group for a while, since the beginning, and she was willing to take her at that young age, and so
Marilyn has a love of horses as well.
she has a love for any animal.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Do you all have dogs and cats at home?
It's a zoo at my house.
Oh, you're kidding.
Oh, yeah, it's.
So you all have one child, but a zoo of animals.
You name it, and we've had it.
Yeah, and you and Marilyn both grew up with animals. Did
Yes.
she grow up with them as well?
Yeah, you know, not farm animals, but
Right.
Horses.
Oh,
and stuff,
yeah,
but,
sure.
You know, dogs and cats.
Dogs and cats, yeah. You know, so, of course, growing up in a little apartment in Durham, we did not have that opportunity to have any pets. You couldn't have any dogs now. My parents have a couple of a cat and some birds. But, you know, growing up, not having that interaction with dogs, and now as Emma Claire is with a dog and love petting him, and we bump into a Shih Tzu or Shih Tzu or whatever you pronounce it at the park, and she's wanting it, and all these neighbors saying, you got to get her a dog. And I'm thinking, I can't imagine.
Well, Delaney's a dog lover, anyway, and a pet lover. But we use it, I don't know if it's right or what, but we use it with part of responsibility with her. Like Delaney's, she has certain responsibilities at the house,
right.
And one of which she feeds the dogs at night. I mean, that's what she does, along with a couple other things. She even has to make her bed in the morning, that sort of thing.
Right.
But adding, because just adding more responsibility to her, and then giving her more responsibility also is.
That I bet that has been good for her. Aside from what she was getting from horses, starting at age 3.
Yeah, she actually,
that's amazing. Emma Claire will be 3 this weekend on Sunday. We're having a big party here on
nice
Saturday.
Horse. You want me? Hey, I tell you.
Bring the horse out here. We're having some pony hops. These little blow-up ponies.
I mean, for sale.
For sale.
Uncle Donald needs to bring her a horse
for sale.
For her birthday.
Wow, how much you get off of it? Yeah, no, that sounds very dangerous, Donald. That's a very interesting idea. I ought to think about getting a horse out here. We're having it here at the station.
Right. Oh.
Now
this is Saturday. She turns 3, right?
She'll be 3 on Sunday. On the 11th. But the Saturday's her birthday. The rain day will be out here on Sunday as well, and we're just going to have it rain or shine on Sunday. I mean, it's but hopefully it'll be nice weather this Saturday. You can never predict anything on weather. You really can't. Just like, of course, last week as I was thinking about it and talking to Hilda, and she said, Greg, you can never predict anything on TV. Anything could happen. Of course, right here we could stop it,
right,
if we want to, and try to do something, but you really can never control anything.
Nope. And I'm sure that Lane will have some stories for you. I'm sure
tomorrow, yes.
And Hilda will have some stories for you, because I literally think Hilda has watched every program.
She has seen a heck of a lot of them.
She's come close to watching every one.
Yeah.
I'll share this with you. I've never shared this with you, and I'm anxious to see your reaction. So I hope Ray, our director now, when I tell this story, he'll cut to you really quick. We had a problem the very first day we ever taped, first show, and you didn't know it, but we did. And it's embarrassing to say it, but I thought I would share this with you. Lane didn't say anything, and I don't think he's ever said anything about it. Didn't say any, or probably won't say anything. Maybe you can, if you remember, you can ask him.
Wow.
We show up. You remember the very first Carolina People was over in Florence.
Right, at the Boy Scout Service Center. Yeah.
Show up there. And, of course, we want to put on as big a show as we can for you,
right,
and for the clients come in that you're going to interview.
Oh, yeah.
show up, everything ready. We're probably about 15 minutes before the first guest. I think I think you have Brianna there and
Right, and Loretta DeLuca.
Loretta.
Yeah.
And we ran off and we forgot the videotape.
Oh my Lord!
Yeah, that happened the very first show.
You are kidding.
No, that's.
What'd y'all do? I mean, how did?
Well, I just happened to have a friend that lived in Florence, and luckily, I was able to catch him. And he said, "Oh yeah, I've got a few tapes."
Wow.
So I ran over. I don't know if you missed me being gone, but I ran to his house, actually his house. And
You were kidding. No, I did not
ran
know
off
that.
without the videotape.
You are kidding. I know y'all got up there early, real early
did,
that
yeah.
morning.
And
Wow.
we didn't realize it. Even then, even after we had stuff set up, we didn't realize it. But yeah, ready to go, everything, cameras tuned in perfect. I mean, it's just, looked around and where's the tape? And you try to blame that on somebody, but you can't. I mean,
Well, of course, you've highlighted. Yeah, that's right. No, you can't. Yeah. You've highlighted something, videotape. We'd love to give the impression always, and we really make that effort that
Right.
we're live.
And but what
We can't always be live.
No, you can't
Yeah.
always be live. But what you do, and when you can't, you shoot live to tape. And
Right.
there's no
So
stopping.
we're as close to live as
Right,
possible. That's
exactly.
right.
In our business, we call it live to tape.
Absolutely.
It's done. It's done.
That first trip up there with Loretta in the car that morning as we're driving up, and she's feverishly writing down questions. I pulled out the first schedule that morning, and the amazing thing was, and in that instance, since it was the first one, we weren't going live to tape, but look at it, 10 a.m. Jim Head, 10:15 Ed Salibi, who was an attorney from Hartsville. Jim Head at the time was the head of the Boy Scouts for the PD Area Council. At 10:30, Leslie McIver, a minister there in Conway, who drove up.
City councilman.
10:45, city councilman, that's right. 10:45, the CEO of McLeod at the time, Bruce Berrigan. 11 o'clock, Emerson Gower, who's one of the top guys for CP&L up there in the PD. We were going back, Juanita Bullock at 11:15, it was the CEO of Southeastern Steel. At 11:30, we had a little space open, but Eddie Drayton came in over from Hartsville. I mean, we were just pounding. 11:45, Reverend Diggs, a fascinating gentleman. 12 o'clock, a guy from Florence Darlington Tech, Dr. Charles Muse. I mean, look at that. No breaks. Literally no breaks. Every 15 minutes pulling folks in and out, and we really stayed on target there. Folks are getting the 8 minutes to talk about Boy Scouts, their involvement, why the PD Area Council needed some support. At 12:15, Webb Jones, a dentist whose office was next door. Billy Powers at 12:30 of Powers Aviation up there. We had a teensy break because I think someone had to cancel a couple days before. But then Alan Clemens at 1, Orby Ferguson, who drove up from the beach at 1:15, and then Jim Ed again to wrap it up. When you think about that commitment from folks driving up from Myrtle, driving in from Hartsville, from all over the PD for, as I'm sure we'll talk to Lane a little bit tomorrow and Hilda on Wednesday and a little more later this week, for these 8-minute segments to get the word out about something that means a lot to them.
And these are high-powered people. I mean, these are
Absolutely.
what we refer to as movers and
That's
shakers.
right. Who don't have time necessarily to take an hour and a half drive up.
It might be 8 minutes on air, but it's
A lot that
half a
goes
day
into
could
that. It could be half a day.
And I'll mention this to you. And we did. I can't remember how long that format lasted, but I'll give you the credit of the changeover of one guest per show, because I'll be honest with you, I really didn't know if that would work.
Mm-hmm.
My gut probably told me it wouldn't. But it's probably the best thing that ever happened to Carolina people and that was your idea.
Oh, yeah.
Because what it did, you really got to meet the Alan Clemens then.
You're right.
You really got to meet the power. I mean, the Lois Ergles.
Right.
I mean, you find out stories like she was on
A couple weeks
ago. And I mean, and I've known her for years, but I learned things in the interview.
Right.
That was amazing, and I think that's really I think that was probably the most powerful thing that has ever happened to Carolina people,
Mm-hmm.
the most positive thing, and I think that's really when people really started liking the program.
I think it helped open a lot of doors, Donald. I mean, it really just helped open a lot of doors to get some great guests in. Oftentimes, folks are scared about having 30 minutes on air. One-on-one, what can I say for 30 minutes? But the time does fly very fast. We got about 45 seconds now. And it's amazing how we haven't even touched on how you got the nickname Lucky Dog, or where the heck that came from.
And we won't, and if you don't mind, the last 30 seconds, I just want to thank you, not only personally, but professionally, on stepping out, making the commitment you made to this community, on doing a 30-minute show Monday through Friday. It's almost unheard of in our business, but you did, and I can assure you, it has benefited more people than you will ever know. And it's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Donald. Yes, thank you. Stay tuned to more Carolina People with Donald Smith coming up next. Think of that, almost 3 decades ago, at age 19, starting your own company. Starting your own company, not just a little company on the side, not while you're starting college and doing something on the side, your own farm supply company. It's for real. Fast forward a decade, he's out there a little earlier than that with Cox Cable, helping them kick things off, and then kicking off his own company. And then a decade ago, kicking off River Talk, teaming up with Horry Telephone Cooperative and really making a difference in the community, making sure that folks get their word out, whether it's just for 6 or 7 or 8 minutes or 12 minutes in the morning, folks having the opportunity to do that. And then you fast forward 7 more years when he's sitting with me and Hilda Merritt Carter, who'll be with us on Wednesday at the Trestle over in Conway, talking about the ways that we can really make Carolina People successful. A lot of fast forwarding in life. You heard him talk about early on in this morning's interview, 6 candidates this year, 1 running unopposed, 5 others with P.R. Smith, getting out there, making a difference in their lives so that those folks can now serve the public in so many ways. It's making a difference. Donald Smith doing it every day. So glad he got to talk about Delaney and Maryland and what they do over in Conway and all over the area, making a difference every day.